The incoming White House Chief of Staff, Mick Mulvaney, saying that Democrats are the ones bolting with no plan. Watch.
The Democrats have simply shut down the discussions. They did not even counter us. They left town, and I think the reason they did is because Nancy Pelosi, in fairness, does not have the votes for the speakership yet. She cannot be seen by her party as being weak on negotiating with Donald Trump. So we fully expect that until she is elected speaker and has locked that vote up, we don't expect to hear from the Democrats again. They told us last night that they were not countering our last offer.
So how might all this play out? The former Chief of Staff to Senator Mike Lee, Boyd Matheson, and the former D.C. Democratic Party Chairman, Scott Bolden. Hello to you both.
Good afternoon.
You know, Blake.
So let me start with you, Boyd, because it seems like this is the game plan, as we just walked through with Chad, is for Republicans to say, Nancy Pelosi, you've got the House here soon, your move next. Smart tact?
No, I think it's a big mistake. I think what ought to happen is Mitch McConnell ought to call the Senate back into session immediately. No bill can be passed. No government can be reopened if there's nobody in session and nobody to vote. He should then call up the bill that was passed by the House, $5 billion for border security. If the Democrats vote that down, he can remind them that everyone there had voted for $8 billion for a fence just a few short years ago under President Obama. Then he can go into and say, you know what, let's compromise. How about $4 billion and take a vote? $3.5 billion, $3 billion, go all the way down to $2 billion, which is where I think the president's ultimately going to land. And if they do that, do it in the light of day. Don't do all of this behind closed doors stuff. That's all just politics as usual. Have the votes, have the debate, get the compromise, see who's really willing to secure the border, because everybody agrees we need to secure the border. Both sides agree on that. So get the politics out of it. Then if you wanted to go real extreme, if they voted down at $2 billion for border security, then you could go back to the original $5 billion and invoke a very arcane rule called Rule 19, which gives each senator the chance to only speak twice on an issue, so no filibuster. The vice president could go to the chair, call the question, and they could actually pass it with 51.
Yeah, that seems like going down a road that's probably not likely to happen.
That's a bit of a rabbit hole.
Yeah,
but okay.
Scott would love that, though.
Scott, what's the way to get out of this?
Well, here's the deal. The Democrats are for border security. The numbers that Boyd was raising go to border security. The Democrats aren't giving any money for the wall. That's the core issue, because there's no empirical data to support the fact that this wall would be a deterrent on what the president often says is illegal immigration. We know most of them come across on legal visas and overstay their visit. It's not going to stop drugs, because most of those are smuggled in through legal port entries. It's not going to stop terrorists, because Department of State even says that terrorists, they've never, or very few have been identified at that southern border. MS-13, less than 0.2% of MS-13 have been identified, or any other gang members. And so it's not so much political, it's that there's no data to support this. Even the government's own agencies say that this would not be a deterrent.
You know,
So here's the deal. Why not walk away from that border wall and to put money into border security then? That's the real crux of the debate here.
Boyd, you sort of, this country loves its fantasy football and its fantasy basketball, et cetera. You sort of walk through fantasy politics there as to how you would play this one. But the reality
that's real data that even the federal government says is true.
Well, no, to Boyd, though, the reality is that Democrats are going to control the House, and they're saying no border wall money at all. So is it going to end up being that the president is going to have to blink first on this one?
Yeah, well, I think the sad part is the only people who are going to win on this are the political parties who raise hundreds of millions of dollars off of it as a wedge issue. And Scott and I both agree on this. I think we could solve 94.5% of all the immigration issues and the border security issue in an afternoon on the floor of the House and the Senate if there were leadership on either side of the aisle. And so I think what the American people have to really look at is we need to expect more out of our leaders. We can have an open, honest debate and conversation. Let's do it. Let's get on the floor of the House and the floor of the Senate. Let's have that debate. We can sit here and we can point fingers and place blame and shrug shoulders, but we can find the fault, or we can find a solution, and the American people simply have to expect more, not less.
Scott, very briefly, last 15 seconds to you.
Yeah, well, I think Boyd is absolutely right. I think both sides need to come with some new ideas. For example, why don't the Democrats or the Republicans offer DACA to the Democrats in exchange for border wall money? You might find some sway there in the House and the Senate, or just pass a bill that doesn't include any of the border wall money or border security money, just to get the other agencies going, so you don't have that pressure.
That's one thing that Nancy Pelosi is going to do. So we'll see. We'll see where all of this plays out in 2019. Have to leave it there. Boyd, Scott, thank you both for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Blake.